Okay, we're live on game day. Well, we're not live, but I've got my resident Knicks expert in the building. Tim, thank you for joining us last minute here. I felt it was too important of a game not to kind of just have a game five brain dump. We'll upload it right before the start of the game, but I think the whole world knows now the Knicks are down 3-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Indiana Pacers. I've got a whole list of things that we can chat through, but just right off the bat, as a diehard Knicks fan like I am, how are you feeling going into this game?
I'm really conflicted because, on one hand, if you would have told me that we would be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals at the beginning of the year, I would have been like, hell yes, sign me up.
Yep,
Um, we are still an incomplete team, right? We just put together our team this year. Um,
good point.
and we've had a great playoff run. Like we've gotten great moments as fans. And only one team wins an NBA championship every year. And I don't know if you've sort of looked back at recent history, but there have been seven different NBA championships or champions rather in the last 7 years. We are in an era of parity. Um, and there's so much talent in the league that like to be one of the final four teams left is a pretty awesome thing. Yet at the same time, this 3-1 deficit we're in is all self-inflicted.
Yep.
And what's painful about it is that we are not we're playing out of character. We're making turnovers. We're lacking mental toughness. And we've played four games that with less than 4 minutes left in the game have all been within a possession or two.
Yeah.
So it could very well have swung the other way. You know, if it weren't for that game one collapse, we'd be talking about a 2-2 series going back home with two out of three at home. And so it's these small miscues at the margins that make me feel like we're leaving money on the table and you can't take these runs for granted because you don't know if and when we'll be back.
Yep. Yeah.
So I have the devil and the angel on each shoulder, and it's eating me up.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think what is kind of making me feel so like kind of I don't have any expectations for this game. I think we've been in so many of these situations before, not to say the Eastern Conference Finals, but recently we've been in the playoffs a little bit. Regular season, we're known to get our hearts broken. So like we go into every game a little bit, on edge, a little bit like, hey, if we win this game, it's amazing. If we lose, it's going to be in a way that we've never seen before. And that's just been the Knicks' MO. So like the expectations for this game, I really just like I don't know. It's a weird feeling because obviously it's a huge game. Like we can compete with this team, but what I've seen from these first four games, I think game one was just such an emotional like letdown for us Knicks fans that like the rest of the series, even when we came back from 20, like that, like we did that against Boston, and every time we did it, we got so excited. But when we did it against Indiana this time, it was almost just like damn, it was still that game one. If we would have just won that game one, I think there's that like overarching like dimness, dark cloud of game one that's just hovering over this series. That like when we lose, if we lose, it's gonna be like all pointed back on that game, and that like that's just in the back of every Knicks fan's mind. That being said, we have been in every game and it's just we haven't played our best basketball, and I can't really put a finger on what it is, like it's this is what I want to ask you. And I just saw Mike, I think Mike Greenberg or whatever, who's on ESPN. He's like a big Knicks fan, big Jets fan. He came out and said, Jalen Brunson carried the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals, and like he's carried us the whole season. He's our MVP. He's our main guy. But like I hate to say it in the Eastern Conference Finals because he is our star guy. But at what point, like, does a coach, does his dad or someone say like, Jalen, they're playing you really well on defense. They got Naismith, he's big. Like, facilitate. Like, we don't need everything from you this series. Is it almost just like you live and die with your main guy, or like can someone get in his ear and be like, dude, when you pass the rock, when you're out the game, like the ball's flowing a little bit more. What have you seen with Brunson?
So I think yes, there's all like he does have a tendency to he's a scoring guard, right?
Yeah.
So his archetype is much different than a Tyrese Halliburton. They're different players. It would
Yep.
be unfair to expect him to become a Tyrese Halliburton. He's a
Yep.
scoring, attacking guard. That's who we have. He's very good at it.
Hmm. Good point.
I think the turnovers are a bigger problem than his sort of like willingness and focus on facilitating. And again, like a couple turnovers becomes the margin of victory. Um, I in playoff basketball, it's important to remember that because of the preparation that goes into every single game, it's just a game of matchup hunting. Every team does it. The Pacers are doing it to us, and I want to talk about that in a second.
Yep.
We're doing it to them. Any other series you tune into, it's matchup hunting. So they're going to run one, two, a multi-layered action to get the matchup that they want.
Yep.
And for us, our best matchup is either Jalen Brunson attacking whoever's guarding him because he's that good,
Mm.
or it's Towns on the block.
Yes.
Now, OG can't make a play in a one-on-one coverage. Bridges only can make one type of play in a one-on-one coverage, right? We know
Yep.
what that is, and that's fine,
Yep.
but we don't have half-court playmakers. We really only have one. Even Towns, there's only a few specific things he can do offensively. He's really great at those things,
Yep.
but there's only a few specific things too. All that being said, to me, our problem has not been offense. It's been defense.
Good point.
On 4 straight possessions in game one, we lose track of their hottest shooter because of miscommunication on pick and roll coverages. Go back and watch. OG failed to step up twice. Towns failed to step up twice. Brunson was late getting over on a cross court pass. That's the difference in the game.
Yeah.
In game two, their difference was at the beginning of that fourth quarter. Brunson was on the bench, Campaign was in, and on 3 straight possessions, we really were. It's worse than like miscommunication on a pick and roll. We didn't know who to guard,
Yeah.
and they score on 3 straight possessions.
Yep.
They go up 8. That's the difference in the game.
Yeah.
And so it's important that we like don't we don't lose the plot here and recognize that the core issue is that we cannot stop them on the defensive side of the ball
Yeah.
because they can get whatever matchup they want because we have 2 weak defenders on the floor in our starting lineup, Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
And that to me is a much bigger problem than our ability to score on the offensive end.
Yeah, no, those are great points. And like one thing I've noticed with Indiana that they do so well, and like we're trying to match their tempo with this and getting the ball out the basket super quick and head down the floor. Um, but the way that they just get the ball out the basket, like off a make or a miss, and just push it up the court, and to your point, get a matchup, get a situation where they want. And whether that's Halliburton, facilitating or like someone slashing to the basket, it's just they get the ball up the floor so quick, and they get players who typically aren't, to your point, good half court guys like a Obi Toppin going on a fast break alley oop or like a wide open three kick out because it's transition. So like the
And then
way that they get the ball out the basket,
they get some confidence, and
yep,
when it's their turn to hit an open 3, they do.
100%. And so like this brings me to a question of like, this is the age-old question with Tibbs is like, is his peak in Eastern Conference Finals, like, and to adjustments and matchups and like in series like tweaks. Rick Carlisle won an NBA championship. Dallas Mavericks head coach. I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's a phenomenal head coach. Looks exactly like Jim Carrey, one of my most favorite actors. So like the guy is just like a stud. I think he like draws up game plans that, obviously you can't really see it at like with the just the normal eye watching the game. But do you think Tibbs, and like there was the question at game 4 that we won, I'm sorry, game 3 that we won, where he played those guys off the bench because other guys were in foul troubles. But if we didn't come back and win, people would have been like, and they were still saying, we haven't seen any of these lineups the whole season. Now you're going to put DeLon Wright with Landry Shamet. and Cat, and it's like these guys don't know each other and their chemistry. Like, what do you say to Tibbs maybe being out coached? Is he trying? What have you seen from him?
Um, you know, these NBA coaches have forgotten more basketball this last week than I've ever known in my lifetime.
That's what people
But,
say, but then you
but,
watch a game
but,
sometimes, football and
yeah,
basketball, they do some shit, and
but
you're like, what?
you win as a team and you lose as a team. So there's stuff that we have to put on the players, there's stuff that we have to put on the coach, and there's even stuff that we need to put on the front office because they're constructing these
100%.
rosters,
Yeah.
right? Um, I think that let's just quickly the front office their grade is incomplete because this is year one.
Hmm.
I think we've overachieved based on our expectations. So let's focus on the players and the coach. Like I mentioned that we're losing games on the margins. Like these are a couple possessions. And so yes, Tibbs has to have some sort of accountability around that. And to your point, like this whole year, the Knicks fan contingent has been being they're being mocked because they're like, oh,
Minutes,
we
minutes.
need to run the minutes, and the minutes police. But part of it's not really just the fatigue and wear and tear on players, it's that you need to use the regular season to experiment and stress test your roster to see what it can withstand. Where are our gaps? Where are our flaws? It's like being a student in a classroom and always like staying within the easy courses and never really knowing what you do or don't know, right? You have
Yeah,
to challenge yourself to stress test. And here we are in game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and we're rolling out lineups and players that we haven't seen all year long. Don't
Delon
get
hasn't even been on the team the whole year.
DeLon Wright is a very good player. I at the beginning of the series before game 1, I was saying to my buddies that like this is a DeLon Wright series, not a campaign series. Campaign is not good enough to guarantee virtue or to warrant an auto rotation spot.
Yep,
So
yep.
he's fine for other series, but for this, we need a steady player that can slow the pace down. We need somebody that can guard 1 through 3 on switches with a little bit more size,
Yep.
and he's a perfect player for
Not
that.
be a liability on offense.
Exactly, but to roll him out like that alongside Shamit and Deuce in one, like, where was this in late January versus the Wizards so that they could get some reps together?
Yeah,
And
100%.
so, like, if we're losing games on the margins by 2, 4, 6 points, then yes, like this is a problem.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one thing that like I don't like to give the Celtics a lot of credit, but Jaylen Brown said this at the beginning of the season. I think it was like their media day or something. He was like, "There's going to be some games against the Charlotte Hornets where where Peyton Pritchard gets
Yeah.
40 minutes, plays the whole game because we want to see what he can do as that guy if Tatum goes down or something like that." And like, look what happened against the Knicks. The guy came in and like was just like lights out. Like they were ready for those situations. And I don't think our team necessarily is. And it's clearly showing. And it's got me a little bit worried because our offense just looks like it's in disarray. Like if it's not Brunson like getting to the rack scoring, the other guys are just standing around, and it takes me back to like when Melo was playing, and it's just like watch the ball, watch what he can do. Does he score? Does he not score? Um, so yes, the lineups got me a little bit,
Our issue is defensive.
yeah.
It's like that is the issue. Now, it does bring me to like a larger point around the construction of the roster
Mhm.
that we if we are going to have a lineup, our core lineup with two weak defenders, Jalen Brunson and Carl Anthony Towns, it's fine to say. I think we can all agree that they're both weak defenders.
Yeah.
We have to be able to outscore teams. But when you have Josh Hart on the floor, whom I love, is my favorite Nick in the last 25 years,
Yeah.
when you have him on the floor, you're not playing a 5-out offense. So what teams do is they guard Josh Hart with their center, and it allows them to put a wing on Towns, and it negates what we can do offensively. And so to me, it's a failure to commit to a strategy. Whether are we gonna wear teams down, play big, be a defensive team and like be opportunistic scoring, or are we going to embrace our two like incredible offensive talents and just play a run and gun style and try to outscore teams? And so to me, it's like we're kind of like just unsure as to what we want the identity of our team to be, and it's costing us because it seems like we're suffering an identity crisis at the worst time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, you clearly see that when it was, what was it, maybe 2 games ago, where they changed up the starting lineup, where Mitch is starting, Hart's coming in off the bench. And I'll say this, Mitch has been our MVP this series. I mean, the way that he is hustling and they've got him mic'd up and he just looks so calm and he's like, like directing people like he's like a floor general. Granted, he's had his issues with free throw shooting and but like what he does on the offensive boards, and the announcers say it all the time, is like those second chance opportunities that we've gotten have saved us in this series. It got us our one victory. So quickly moving to I mean, like, are you fine with Mitch starting in the and Josh coming off the bench?
Yeah, but it also it fails to solve the core strategic issue of how do we play lineups with Cat and Jalen on the floor at the
Yeah,
same time. You're just pushing them to the wing to guard what Siakam or
yeah,
Neesmith, and they can still do that same sort of cross matching because they can again put their big on Mitchell Robinson, which is what they do because they need to keep him off the boards.
yeah,
But they can still put a wing on Towns, and they still have a center waiting in the paint for when Karl Anthony Towns drives.
yeah,
And so when that switch was made, I actually would have been in favor of subbing in instead of Mitch a inferior player in Deuce McBride because we still get defensive tenacity. You can put him on somebody like Halliburton to change that matchup up. And you have a 5-out offense where everybody on the floor can shoot. And statistically, those lineups actually play well.
mhm,
Um, I, I don't know if these lineup changes are gonna really do anything. You'll notice that um, Mitch was subbed in and Josh Hart still played 40 minutes and
yeah,
Mitch played they're all playing the same amount of minutes.
yeah,
Um, I think that though all of these games were winnable, like I don't want to panic around all of this.
mhm.
If they win tonight, this is okay, delusional Knicks fan coming in.
You giving
If
a
they
prediction already?
it puts the pressure on Indiana to close it out at home.
That's
And I'm
true.
not going to go anywhere beyond that. All I'm going to say is that if we win tonight, it shifts the pressure to Indiana to win at home.
So I wanted to ask you this,
Lace
and
them up for 48 and do it.
I'll
You know?
skip over. Quickly, I wanted to ask you because I've kind of noticed this, and I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't watch too much of Cat's game when he was in Minnesota. I mean, like, I've obviously saw highlights of when he scored 70, and he's a beast. But like, I don't know if he's hurt. I mean, well, he definitely is hurt because he's questionable tonight with his knee or whatever. He's gonna play. The guy's a warrior. He's a tough guy. Um, I, I haven't noticed this whole season. Like, yes, I think he's getting fouled a good amount, but like when
Excellent.
he drives to the basket, like he's looking for contact way more than he is trying to just finish at the hoop strong. Like, what have you seen from Cat, like driving to the basket? Because he's missing a lot of layups. Like he's missing bunnies around the hoop. And again, he's getting fouled, but like, is this what he is?
I don't know. Like I'm good at being objective about other teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
You can go back to my round one predictions and all you haters that were like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. They're all wrong. I got every single one right except for one series, which I wanted to come back and flag that I got this one wrong, but all the other ones I got right. But anyways, I'm bad about being objective about the Knicks. I feel like he gets a bad whistle.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's another conversation we can
I,
get to quickly
I
about
think
the
he
officials.
does. He gets called for all these off balance touch fouls, which is poor defensive technique, yes.
Yes.
But on the other end, like literally the subsequent possession, he's getting pushed off his spot and they don't
Not
call it.
calling it. Yeah.
Um, that's not a problem to solve for now. So
Yeah.
to your point, you just gotta finish.
Keep
You gotta
running.
go
Yeah.
to the rack and finish. That's why
Yep.
they pay you the big bucks. That's why you're an all NBA player. Like go and finish.
Yep.
Um, I'm of the mind, and this can be we can do an off-season pod, that his best path forward is playing 10 or 15 pounds lighter than he does and sort of embracing the second stage Tim Duncan arc where he played a lot lighter, was playing more on the perimeter, because to me, Cat is a 4. He's
Yeah.
not a 5. He
No.
can't protect the rim, and he can't play drop coverage in the pick and roll in the middle of the floor. Those are two really important things for a center to do in the NBA,
Yeah.
and he can't do those things. So to
Yeah.
me, he's a 4, especially because he can shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And when you see him switch out on guys on the perimeter, he can actually move his feet pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So like I think that would change his game. He'd become more of a finesse player. He's tough. He's a tough guy. He really is. Like this whole book on him, I don't like the whole social media conversation around him. I'm not even gonna say what it is. You guys
Oh
know
my
it.
God, the
I think
zestiness.
I think it's wild disrespectful.
Yeah.
Uh, he's a tough player,
Yeah.
but I think at his core he's a finesse player,
Yeah.
and he needs to embrace that more. But that's not a problem to be solved now.
Yep.
That's more like longer term. I think like you got to finish, right?
Yeah. I think he reminds me a lot of Anthony Davis in the sense that I think he grew up playing a lot of AAU ball, playing a lot of circuits as a big guard. And that is kind of how they developed them at a young age. But now in the league, they are just massive. They're bigger than a lot of the other guys. And they're looking at them to be kind of this more old school power forward center role where
It's like
Anthony Davis isn't that. Carl Anthony Towns is not that. And it's beating up their body, which to your point, they're more finesse and it's taking a toll on them.
and like it's like forcing a square peg into a round hole,
Yeah.
but they're just so damn good and talented
Yeah.
that they make it work somehow,
Yes.
kind of.
Yep.
And so you feel like, oh well,
He could do it.
the right move to play him at the
Yeah.
5. But
Yeah.
at their core, that's not who they are.
100%.
And like guys are who they are. After a few years in the league,
They are who we thought they were.
yeah. So like Brunson is a scoring guard.
Yep.
Towns to me is a finesse big, not a power big.
Yep.
And so like those are questions to be asked and discussed at a later date.
Yep.
For now, can we win a do or die game at home? Absolutely. Absolutely we
Can
can.
we?
Will we? I don't know. But like we can and we should.
Here's
So
here's my thing. And this is just me, but like I watched this series and yes, we came back from 20. Yes, we're kind of just been this gritty team. We did it against Boston. But I watch these games and it's like 9 minutes left, 8 minutes left. And even if it's a close game, I'm like, they're going to hit the shot. They're going to be the ones that do what they need to do to win this game. I'm not going to lie. When Miles Turner shot that three at the end of game 3 and they were down by 2, I was like, that's going in. This is just what the Pacers do. They hit the big shots. They win in these big games. Luckily, he missed. But I just don't feel like this team is like built right now in this current moment. Like maybe last series they were. Bridges missed so many of those tough corner threes last game. Brunson missed a wide open corner 3. Like there's these clutch shots, and I want to get into this real quick because I was talking to a buddy about it.
some threes.
Momentum threes, but there's also momentum non-foul calls. And like I don't want to put it all on the officials, but there's moments that like they didn't call a clear foul. OG gets pushed in his back on a layup. Cat
Yep.
misses the putback. They come down and hit a basket. If you call that, he hits 2 free throws. They might not hit it on I don't know what the score was, but it was a momentum changing play that the
Overtime
officials
in
keep messing up.
Yeah. Overtime in game 1, they missed a goaltending
Horrible
call. The
miss.
ball goes the other way to a
Horrible.
corner 3.
Yeah.
That's a 5-point swing.
Yeah.
And it would have been a 6-point game. Instead, it was up 1. Even that foul call in game 1, like, yeah, OG, like, he fumbled the ball, no doubt.
Yeah.
And, like, that was actually Brunson's fault. He shouldn't have made that pass.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah,
plenty
horrible.
of So
He learned the next game.
all self-inflicted gunshot wounds.
Yes. Yes.
Like, to be clear to the audience, like
Yeah.
we're not sort of like
Being
but
homers.
there's been some pretty questionable officiating throughout the series. Like they called on the floor on the floor. They called the foul, and OG was going to go to the line,
Mhm.
and they spent 5 minutes looking for enough evidence to overturn it. And it's not as if it was no foul whatsoever. He grabbed on his jersey.
Yeah,
He was pulling on his jersey as he went up. Is that not a foul? Maybe it's not the foul you called,
but
but
it's
it's still a foul.
yeah. Siakam
Um,
is boxing him out at the end of the game, literally grabbing his jersey, like pulling him down, and
yeah,
it's a loose ball foul on the Knicks. So like those frustrate me, and I will take this to my grave. I never understood why the officials don't go out of their way to help the Knicks in a series. Like
you
it's
want to
like
know why? People have all the wrong conspiracy in their mind. Everybody's like, oh, they want to help big market teams, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
James Dolan is actively, he filed a lawsuit against another NBA team, which was unprecedented at the
Yeah, yeah,
time,
yeah. When the
about the
Raptors
whole
thing.
Raptor spine thing.
Yeah.
But more importantly, he has been the one dissenting vote for the last couple years around the revenue sharing model
Oh,
that the
interesting.
NBA uses for the upcoming media deal. He's of the mind that there's no incentive for his team to like make profit margins because it's ultimately going to get distributed to the small market teams.
Interesting.
He says it's anti-capitalist, it's not a productive thing for the league. Like teams need to become like there's no incentive for him to like create
Rev
valuable
share model.
media, like media IP and regional media networks and stuff like that. And so he's been the one dissenting vote the last couple of years
Oh, so
in
it
this
runs
sort of
deep.
revenue sharing battle between big market and small market teams.
Interesting.
The other big market teams, they zip their lips. They're
Yeah.
like, "Yep, take my money," blah blah blah. And Dolan, for better or for worse, is not built like that.
Very interesting. I didn't
And
see. I didn't know
so,
all that.
how's that for conspiracy?
That takes it deep. That takes the conspiracy
Because
windmill.
now we're talking about real money,
Yeah.
right?
Well, but then on the flip side of that, and and Molly gets mad at me when I say this, but I was like, all of negative 17 people are gonna watch an OKC Indiana NBA final. So like how much does it balance? Like I guess maybe to your end, there's more money on the rev share, media contract dollars than there is on just an NBA finals series. But to me, like you
Want
would want New York market in the NBA finals over an Indiana Pacers team.
these Pacers Knicks series have been the most watched Eastern Conference Finals since I think 2016.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
I believe
and
it
that's all because New York's tuning in.
100%. So
New
yeah,
York's
so that's one that was a little fun one for you. Another one that I wanted to get your take on, and this has been another conversation because this guy is like, I feel like he's trying to be Switzerland and kind of stay just a regular announcer.
Yep.
But Reggie Miller on the call for an Easter Conference Finals, I mean, like, can we like? There's situations where Tom Brady can't go to, you know, NFL franchises facilities before a game or something like that. But like, there's got to be some rule at some point where your main guy who played his whole career, who didn't want to leave Indiana because he had so much loyalty to that fan base, calling an an Eastern Conference Finals is just
Against
like,
storied rivalry. Forget you don't need a rule. It's just bad programming
yeah,
on part of TNT. Um, which you want to know? I want to talk about this subject, right? Like I think it's bad programming. I think if you bring him in for one game, that's fine.
or
But
put him as your sideline reporter or something. Like, get some
yeah,
inside information on the
yeah, like
series.
have fun with it.
Yeah,
But like to have him be the color commentary guy for the entire series is just weird and it's a little off-putting. And you want to know what? TNT has been like they have gone downhill in the last 10 years.
I
And
agree.
this is their last year. And if you ask me, good riddance.
Yep.
Who wants to watch a product in which the commentators, I'm talking about the halftime show, continuously rip and put down the product and talk about how bad the players are, how it's not as good as it used to be.
Yep.
Like, what kind of product are you trying to put out with that stuff?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not looking for cheerleading or rah rah or a bunch of company men,
But be
but like,
positive.
but yeah, like enjoy what you're watching. And like, there's no prep. The only guys on that panel that prepare are Ernie, who's literally just the facilitator and the host, and Kenny Smith.
Yes.
Shaq doesn't prepare, Chuck doesn't prepare, and it's real like it's really just it's weak stuff. So I'm excited to watch the NBA on NBC next year. You look at a guy like Carmelo Anthony, who's gonna be on the halftime panel.
Yep.
He is a champion of the sport. As far as like, promoting it, being involved with it. He's involved with global basketball,
Yep.
and he's just a cheerleader for all these guys that are coming up. He doesn't compare himself to them. He doesn't care about his
Beef.
legacy
Yeah.
and stuff like that. He's just, he's in a good place and happy in talking about the sport. Like, give me more Jamal Crawford. Jamal
Yep.
Crawford is great talking about the sport.
Vince Carter
Guys,
too has been good. He's positive, like all good
yeah.
things. Players like him.
And so to like talk about a television product that has gone downhill. I wish you want to, if you have time before you put this out, their little gone fishing segment that
Yes.
they do.
Yep.
Flash that graphic and let's send those guys fishing. Get them out of here.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think I agree with you 1,000,000% on Inside the NBA TNT. Like, don't get me wrong, that show was phenomenal. That it, like was
Groundbreaking. It raised us.
yeah,
I watched that at night for years and years and
the
years.
best. So innovative. The skits they did, the like kind of like little segments, like the
You're
humor. Some of that stuff was the
you're
funniest
so
stuff.
natural.
It was
Yeah.
so natural. It was organic. I don't know if it's because they knew this was their last season that maybe they phoned it in, but like I said this all year. I said it even last season. I spoke to a friend of mine who's like involved with sports heavily that she even mentioned she was like, these guys are getting old. Like, like they need to find like the new and upcoming guys who are going to replace them because to your point, they're like the Clint Eastwood, like get off my lawn. Like I don't even know who these young players are. And to your point, it's like, do some research. Like this is what you were built on in the past was like knowing the guys in the league. So like I think a lot of the stuff they've done this year has been super forced. I think it's been super scripted. I think it hasn't been funny. It hasn't been original. A lot of the like who he play for, like yeah, like we've seen it every season now. So like do something new. So I couldn't agree more. I'm like don't let the door kick you on the way out. Like obviously kudos, you've done a phenomenal job. Um, but I think they're just hanging their hat on what they have built and really phoned it in this season. And to your point, it's like, yes, Reggie's been a commentator the whole season, but you gotta find a way to
It's not
hire someone else, bring someone else in, have Reggie be the guy for the Pacers, and then have Larry Johnson be the guy for the Knicks and be like this little banter, like you do it at the All-Star game, bringing in Kevin Hart and all this corny stuff. Why not during the season do the same thing? But it's been hard to listen to Reggie every single game, try to be unbiased, but then on every single call, he'd be like, that's a great no call. Or, Halliburton hits the three at the end of the game and he gives him like the stare down. It's like,
yeah.
I don't want to see that from my commentator. I want a
And,
Marv Albert that will just call the game and will just give you banger after banger, like
yep.
Mike Breen bangs.
And a color commentary guy that talks about what he's seen,
Yes.
right? You know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, good
So,
riddance. And if I'm keeping my Pacer hater hat on,
yeah.
did you see this thing with Pat McAfee
Yes.
and
Yeah. I have that on
them
my list.
putting
I
him
have.
on?
What were your thoughts on it? Because I'll tell you mine, but go
I
for it.
like what Ben Stiller said. He was super diplomatic about it. I think he was on
He's
he was on
definitely salty. Ben's
some
salty about it a little
he
bit.
is. Well, you want to know what he said? I like the way he phrased it. He goes, in New York, we don't do that. We don't do that. He kind of took the high road and is like, we're above that kind of
We
stuff here.
don't, but like it pains
But
me
they
to
would
kind of
never
say this.
like imagine they had like one of our celebs or they brought somebody on and started, taunting
Yeah,
the other fans. Like it's beneath us.
it
It's
is.
beneath.
It's definitely beneath like the Knicks to
And
do that.
not to mention, he literally called them. Can I curse on this?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This
He
is
called
YouTube.
them sons of bitches.
Yeah,
Like, it's not like, oh, get these guys out of here. Well, that would have
yeah.
been fun and cute. But like, dude,
Cursing. Yeah, like let's turn this shit up. Like
I'm not soft about that kind of stuff. But like, what are we doing?
I'm I I'm gonna play the other side a little bit because like I've got no beef with McAfee. I think he does a great job with his show. I think
Yeah,
he's super knowledgeable. You know, to
yeah.
go from a pro football player, punter to like this whole,
Talk
sports
every sport.
conglomerate now, like he that's his MO. He
Yeah,
does it with the WWE. Like he's great on the mic. I personally, I wasn't that mad at it. I tend to like I listened to his segment on his show afterwards, and he was like, I look at Timothy Chalamet, and he was grinning ear to ear. He was smiling. Like I found it as playful. I didn't think anything too much of it. I more so was like when he punched Carlisle in the arm. I was like, I'm surprised like Rick didn't say like because that was in the middle of the fourth quarter. That
yeah,
was so like in Indiana, it plays okay because it's like they've got nothing else to do. Their fans are mad corny. They're like looking at him as like their mega god. So like let the guy like kind of do his thing and while out. But to your like it wouldn't be done in New York. They would show the person on the jumbotron and we just boo the hell out of them and that would
yeah,
be it. But in corny Indiana, like that's all you got. Like you leave the game. To your point, I think you tweeted it one time. It was like maybe Detroit. It was like people are leaving early to do what in Detroit? Like it's like we've got so much like bigger fish to fry, bigger celebrities to work with than like the Pacers saying sons of bitches. Like, but here's my next point to you is like, yes, Chalamet's been a fan since he was a kid. Cool story with the Landry Shamet thing. What no, with the Landry Fields thing and the giveaway that he won. But like why are him and Stiller like kind of like the face of our franchise now? Like
nah,
what's
bro,
yeah
love it. Are you kidding me? First off, have you seen Chalamet on College Game Day?
yeah he's a wizard, right?
He knows sports. He
Yeah,
knows sports, right? And like he, it is late May. He could be in the south of France right now
yeah.
on a yacht going to Monaco Grand Prix, and he's clearing his schedule to fly to Indiana to watch the game like an AAU dad. I love it. I'm here for it.
I'll take it.
Like Ben Stiller tweets about the Knicks
He goes
like
hard.
in January on a Wednesday night. He'll just without context be tweeting like deuce,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Okay.
like they're ride or die. I'm with these guys.
You sold me a little bit. I'm still old school. Like I just want to see Spike Lee. Like I just want to see like one fan decked out in Knicks gear. I don't want to see Chalamet's fancy glasses.
What
Ben
if I
Stiller like,
mean
hey, Ernie Johnson, here's Timothy Chalamet. Like save all that shit.
I don't know if you know how this works, but when you get old, you can't do as much
That's very
as
true.
you're always able to
The
do, and
Spike's
then
just
something
posted.
happen. We need who's next after Spike,
Yeah,
and like if you're telling me it's Stiller and Chalamet, like that's pretty. I mean,
that's a good
Chalamet is
number.
about as A-list as it gets in 2025,
Very true.
right?
Yeah,
Bringing Kylie and Kendall Jenner courtside and putting them in Knicks hats,
facts.
like
Yep. Okay.
he's the one.
You sold me. You swayed me on it. Yes, if he wants to be the next Spike, go
We're gonna need
for it.
somebody to do it.
I've got two more things here,
Okay.
and one this one was pretty interesting. Because I think it was a Pacer, it might have been Naismith after a game came out and said like there wasn't this mystique of MSG anymore. He wasn't nervous to play there. And this is huge going into tonight because you would think a game five, a Midwest team, Indiana Pacers, a lot of young players going into New York City, the Garden, to close out the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals would be shitting their pants. But to me, I don't think these guys are nervous at all. I think they're like kind of like excited to play at the Garden tonight. Like, what do you say to one, the mystique of MSG not being there anymore, and two, that these fans, like a ticket's probably $1,000 to get in the building. There's none of that. Like, I'm nervous. Someone's gonna throw a beer at me if I knock a three in this third quarter. You know?
I think that world is gone. I don't like. I think that these guys, if you look at like what a life of playing basketball looks like in the 21st century, they're on the road all the time. They play. They've played in every gym
Yep.
in the world. There's no really home gym, away gym. There's no home like
Yep.
even the high schools they play at. It's
Well,
not
they've all
like
played in Barclays. They've all played in the Garden
yeah,
before. They played in NBA arenas.
it's exactly. So I think that dulls it a little bit. I also think like the ticket pricing changes things a little bit.
Yep.
But I actually want to take this moment to give Indiana their flowers.
Yeah.
Like these guys are dogs.
Yeah.
You know, Halliburton, he's skinny, but he's a dog.
Yep.
Nemhard is a dog. Neesmith is a dog. Siakam, like these guys go. Even guys like Ben Shepherd
CJ
comes
McConnell is
in
still going strong.
cold, cold.
Yep.
And so, like, let's not like, yes, we're talking about the Knicks and we're talking about the issues that we've had, but like they've been great.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll eat my words here. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Oklahoma City runs them off the floor.
Agreed. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
playing great basketball right now. They beat a juggernaut Cleveland team.
Yep.
Um, they're smacking us up. They
Yeah.
might win each series 4-1.
Yeah, no, I hate to say it too, and that's a great point. Like, I don't think Indiana gets enough credit. Obviously, like everyone wants to speak about the Knicks. We're
Mhm.
Knicks fans. It sells on the market. It sells on TV to talk about the Knicks more than it does the Pacers. But like, it's not like they're an unlikable team. Like, and the
They play
conversation.
beautiful
They
basketball. The
play
way it
beautiful
moves.
basketball. They're so well. Like, here's my thing. I watched the Detroit Pistons, and even Mike Breen is saying this. He's like, I've never seen a coach like Bickerstaff after every single call complain and whine, and after in the press conference talk about it. Carlisle, like last year, he started like whining a little bit because maybe they weren't getting calls. They were getting kind of small marketed. But this year, it's like the guy's won an NBA championship. He's an OG veteran coach, and he's got his team playing super well. Like everybody plays their role so, so well. Um, and Halliburton is this guy,
He is a freaking stud, man. Are you kidding me? Like
like,
he's the
so,
engine that makes it all
but
go.
even after the game, like they'll have I saw this news reporter was like, hey, you're the first player to have this stat line of triple double points, blah, 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 plus steals and no turnovers. And even Halliburton was like, yo, we're just making up stats now. Like this is kind of getting like it's like when you're a star player and you're just real, you're just humble. Even like they're trying to overshadow some of the gameplay with like, free pops, have my pops in there. Like that storyline has kind of been brushed aside because Halliburton, even back in the day, was like, yo, my dad was wrong. Whereas some
Yeah.
of these other superstars sit up there and like they're flashy. They got like Anthony Edwards got his sunglasses on, his hat to the side, and not that there's anything wrong with like kind of having fashion, but like Halliburton just sits up there like a G and just answers questions and talks about the game. And like you want that like there's times where you watch a series and teams are very unlikable. Trae Young is very unlikable. The Philadelphia 76ers are a very unlikable team. You can't hate on this Pacers team. They're playing well.
And they're beating us up good. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
So I have to run.
yeah.
Guys, we're recording this in the middle of the workday.
Quick prediction. So before you go, we need a prediction before you bounce.
Knicks are gonna win tonight. Of course they are. We're gonna win tonight. We're gonna win game 6. We're gonna come back and win game 7, and we're going to the NBA finals. How could you expect me to say anything less?
Spoken like a true Knicks fan, I'll give my quick prediction. I think the Knicks win tonight. It's screw it. They win 5, they win 6, and they win 7. Let's go.
Yup,
Knicks in
let's
7.
go. Knicks in 7.
Sam, thanks for hopping on, man. I know you got to bounce. Like you said, it's middle of the day. We'll get this right up. Enjoy the game tonight, everyone. Peace out.
Go Knicks.